Hello, welcome everybody. It's time. Patch 1.33 is online, the patch that has been on PTR for several weeks that brings us rank play by Blizzard. So the Blizzard ladder is live now, as well as match history, profile pictures, etc, etc. There's a lot to get into, so this is the good, the bad, and the ugly about this patch. The good thing is, of course, that a team at Blizzard is working on this game and we get certain improvements, and we finally, 2.5 years, or to be precise 932 days after Reforged release, we finally get some essential features back into the game. That's the good thing. The bad thing? It broke a couple of things. And some things are not optimal that can be improved. So we'll go into pretty much everything. This might be a lengthy video, but afterwards you know exactly what's up. So we dive into the patch notes that was released, or they were released yesterday by Kaivax once again. We have rank play. We reported on this on a video before. You can choose between ranked and unranked play in the versus screen. And you can earn new portraits with that you can then wear on the Battle.net ladder. Seasons are defined, so there is a season, it lasts for around about half a year, and then there's a ladder reset. And different from how Warcraft 3 Champions is doing this, the Blizzard ladder resets your MMR. We will go into this a little later. You will do placement matches, and then you will be put in a league. Goes from combatant, challenger, rival, duelist, elite, gladiator to champion for the high ranks. So that's the ladder so far. Hand in hand with that, they did a few updates. Everything looks like this. It's a nice menu. I, of course, lost my placement match. You can select your race. The Night Elf color has changed to teal, which is kinda odd. You can select 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, which is not on War 3 Champions, 4-on-4 as well. So let's take a look at the leaderboard. As you see, it's all sorted by MMR. That is an improvement compared to the Battle.net of Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne, because there it was just levels, and levels were never a good indicator of how good a player is, so MMR is better than that. The problem with MMR is that you can get a high MMR with few games. As you can see, the difference between 13-0 and 33-4 is just 29 ladder points. This is why Warcraft 3 Champions has a metric called ranking points. So activity gets rewarded as well. So here, just as in StarCraft 2, you're only sorted by MMR, and that is not great, because you can get a pretty high account with very few games, and then you're on top of the ladder, and activity is not included into that metric. The leaderboards per se are kind of nice. You can check profiles. Hitman is, of course, playing already quite a bit, so you can see what's happening here. So hand in hand with that goes a tiny update on the map pool, which you can see here. They removed Brightwater Oasis and they removed Nomad Isles. Newly included are Autumn Leaves and Tidehunters, you know, the maps from War 3 Champions. You gotta say that these maps are the outdated versions that are also implemented on Neddy's. War 3 Champions map pool is way more up to date. We have maps in here like Swarm Temple that are never played anywhere. Outdated versions of Last Refuge, Autumn Leaves, and Tidehunters, as we said. So this can definitely be improved easily. But ladder is here. You can play matches. There is matchmaking. You can earn wins, you can raise your MMR, but there's a couple of issues. Of course there are, because if you play a game and the match ends, you should go to the end screen where you get the display of how the game went and if you won some MMR or something. Well, usually, currently on the Blizzard ladder, you get this. waiting for results. Match results will be received after all players have left the game. And this is causing quite a few issues apparently, because a lot of games are not counted or are counted several hours after the match has ended. We don't really know the definition, what it means that a player has left the game. So maybe that's the source of these issues. Maybe it's a slow database. Nobody really knows. And a lot of players report this: error, failed to retrieve data. And then your wins or losses aren't counted. Which is bad, especially when you want to do your placement matches, you finally want to go into the ladder, you finally want to play some Blizzard ladder, right? So that's an issue. We heard from our friend Armin that this happened. I went 7-0 CAC W, but the game reports one single win. That's the state right now. And that is horrible. 2.5 years and they can't count. Sad state. Hopefully this is a quick fix. Hopefully they know what's wrong. Another issue is that some people, this is Hippo, played their games. And then, of course, your MMR should be calculated, right? Well, you know Hippo, he's a pretty good player. He gets an MMR of -1. Definitely a bug. Definitely a bug. You can also see here that the season is supposed to end on March 1st, which is, to me personally, a long time. There's probably no season end rewards or anything, but yeah, half a year for a ladder season feels long, man. So that's the state of the ladder currently. At least the leaderboards seem to be working, unlike the PTR. So yeah, good luck getting your games counted, I guess. We go back into the patch notes to see what else Blizzard did with one of the biggest patches they ever did for Warcraft 3. I showed you the leaderboards. The profiles can be entered by right-clicking. That's a little unintuitive, but yeah, the profiles are pretty okay, I'd say. So this is an example of what you see. It's compared to War 3 Champions, rudimentary. You see lifetime stats, you see your win rates, and, you know, who you played and all. War 3 Champions definitely superior, but it's a solid start. You can change your profile picture here. Didn't find out how you get the classic versions, but yeah, a couple of portraits already unlocked. These portraits are kind of cool, gotta be honest. I would still love to have the classic version of it. Back to the patch notes. Custom games. That is quite a change, because prior to this patch, the custom games were locked on the region that you select in the Battle.net launcher. So the custom games you see on America were only accessible via the gateway America. Custom games are now global, and you can join them from all regions, which can be nice if you have a server infrastructure that supports them. At least you have an indicator of where the games are hosted, but this is a little buggy. As you see, the ping currently for all games is nothing. That is certainly not true. It varies from between 20 to 200, but this is absolutely not reliable. I didn't find out what refreshes that list. Maybe it's just rejoining. But yeah, sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working, but it's definitely not reliable. Then we have some changes to the server structure. A proxy was installed in Chicago, so that helps for people on the US East Coast especially, and also with matches between the Americas and Europe. The campaign has seen a lot of updates. Those were introduced by Cam CORSAIR, and he put in a log. This log is massive. It's available on the Hive workshop. You can see what they did, and oh my god, this is way too much to get into. If you're into the solo experience of Warcraft 3 Reforged, and if you're interested in the campaign and what was changed, and sometimes even why it was changed, this thread is for you. So not only the multiplayer experience got enhanced, but also the single player. That seems to be working fine. I haven't seen any reports that it didn't. Then, something for the map makers. Popcorn FX update has been introduced. That is probably an auto update or something. This was causing quite... the old version was causing quite some problems, so it's nice that this is fixed. We have a zoom feature in the game, finally. And that is also a source of problems, at least discussion. So how you enable this is you go into the Reforged menu, and then you go onto gameplay, and then you have a new slider called camera settings. You can enable or disable this. I have it enabled. The default zoom level is 1650. You can zoom in small steps, but this you don't want to zoom in, right? We all want to zoom out. So from 1650, we go from 1900, which is basically the default camera height on Warcraft 3 Champions as well. But if you want to go a little further out, it's not possible. It jumps from 1900 to 2400. And that's not good. That needs smaller steps. Warcraft 3 Champions handles it differently. Warcraft 3 Champions lets you put in a value, so you can even make a step of 1 of this camera height setting. While here on Battle.net, you see. And then there's another issue with this camera feature, because on Warcraft 3 Champions, if you zoom in or you zoom out, the HP bars basically stay the same. On Battle.net, HP bars shrink, which is not good. At the very top, it's 1650, then it's 1900, and then it's 2400. So ideally, you'd want the HP bars to be the same, as it's also an indicator for the hitboxes. That can be solved better, and that is a problem. And of course, there are more problems, but we get into this. You saw this probably during the PTR, that there's some changes to how Reforged looks. It's mentioned in the patch notes. The font was changed, and this goes hand in hand with some other changes. There you go. In the patch notes, it's called Additional User Interface Update. You have hotkeys in the menu. That's kind of cool. The user interface has been optimized. Yep, you can feel that. If you're lucky, the menu is way more responsive, it's not lagging too much. But if you're unlucky, it's the opposite, and the menu is now lagging. That's bad. There's also a new font introduced, and this is mentioned here. Updated the GPU renderer to improve performance with a slight change to the appearance of the font. To enable the old font rendering, okay, you can reintroduce the old font, which is nice, but I guess this is the source of lag for a lot of people, and especially input lag, mouse lag, which was mentioned by the German player Scars already on Twitter. He says, "It's fine for me if they only create problems for their own ladder, but mouse delay and screwed HP bars makes the game unplayable for me. Just sad that apparently they did zero quality assurance." He is, he's right. He's right in what he says. So this is not good. This is also not good for competitive. And this is so deep in the game that it's also happening on Warcraft 3 Champions. This must be fixed. Interesting to me is in the patch notes, they list bug fixes. And these bug fixes were introduced with patch, like the bugs they fix here, They were all introduced with patch 1.33. So what Blizzard did here is list the issues they created and brag that they fixed them. Get that? This is a little reminiscent to when they bragged that they fixed a ranged team, when they were the ones breaking it. Interesting, huh? Interesting. And of course, there's more. So, of course, you know that War 3 Champions is the best server this game has ever seen. You know that they have an incredible server structure. And now, Warcraft 3 has, of course, players in South America, in Oceania. We have servers in US West, a proxy in US East, in Europe, and somewhere in Asia, I guess. So, this is a report from a player in Australia. This is my experience so far in Warcraft 3's new ladder. EU server 90% of the time as an Australian, and US East server with 290 MS ping. Has the American server location changed? As with the OG Battle.net, this was 100 times better. You see it here, he has to play on 350 MS, which is just unplayable. And this is the same for South America as well. So for these guys, there's no alternative than to continue playing on Battle.net, on War 3 Champions. There's more issues. Of course, with an update comes problems. It's always been the case. And there's custom campaigns in Warcraft 3. And one of the biggest and one of the best is Chronicles of the Second War, which is basically a remake of Warcraft 2. They say, we can sadly confirm that serious and game-breaking bugs have affected our game with the recent patch 1.33. The major bugs that hinder our progress is the official game crashes if our custom campaign file is installed in the retail folder. We literally can't launch the game from the execution file. A lot of our maps crash in the world editor. A lot of this stuff was reported. A lot of that stuff was reported. Another thing, LAN mode is broken. And now you might think, well, LAN, who plays on LAN? Well, joining games via LAN is basically the foundation of community interactions, of community projects. This is basically the foundation of War 3 Champions as well. Gladly for us as a community, the War 3 Champions guys are so amazing, shout out to Fluxu and Abeninsky, that they were able to fix this even with broken LAN. But I reported this very early on in the PTR stages, that the LAN functionality is broken. And that it's the foundation of a lot of community projects. And usually, when you report a bug, you are supposed to tell them how to recreate that bug. In this case, it's try to open a LAN game. That's the level of quality assurance we got here. Go to the Warcraft 3 menu, open a LAN game, have someone next to you that tries to join, and see that it's not working. Hopefully this will get fixed. I mean, we have a workaround now, but it's always better to have functions in the game that are working, right? So to be honest, this is bad. This launch is a dumpster fire. The biggest issue, of course, game results not being counted. The ladder is not optimal. The server structure is not optimal. The zoom is not optimal. The map pool is not optimal. It's nice that it's there. And it's nice that they still work on the game. But whatever they do, they introduce new problems to the game. Whether it is for multiplayer, whether it is for the custom game people, or for everyone with that input lag that we have now. And for that, they took 2.5 years That's sad. The Battle.net ladder is no alternative to War 3 Champions. It's nowhere near as good as War 3 Champions. The matchmaking isn't that good. The server structure isn't as good. Even the way they sort the leaderboards is far, far off from War 3 Champions. And then, of course, only half of your games are counted. 10% of your games are counted if you're unlucky. I hope it's easy fixes. I hope they continue working on it. Another example of the quality assurance. Qbert, one of the coaches of GNL and a very good player, found out that the unit Siege Tank, which was patched a year ago, gets buffed if you research an upgrade. So the way they nerfed the tank a year ago is that they are supposed to give more XP because it's a very tanky unit, no pun intended. And if you spend your time killing it, you should be rewarded with a solid amount of XP. So they changed the level of that unit from 3 to 4. So that unit has an upgrade called Barrage that allows them to attack air units. How this works on the base level is the Siege Tank unit gets replaced with a different unit that can attack air and gets a visual upgrade. So what Blizzard did was to nerf the Siege Tank by adjusting their unit level from 3 to 4, so it gives more XP. But what they forgot was to change the unit level of the Siege Tank with Barrage from 3 to 4. So essentially, if you upgrade that unit, it gives less XP. So it's better for you. And how you fix this is by changing a value in the editor from 3 to 4. And that wasn't addressed. Like, it's the easiest thing that you can do in 2 seconds. Same as for how do I recreate the LAN mode bug? How can I test if I can join that or not? This goes hand in hand, of course, with a lot of compatibility issues with custom games and all the other issues. This launch isn't good. It's not appropriate for 2.5 years of waiting, and War 3 Champions is and always will be superior to Battle.net Ranked Ladder. Because the Battle.net Ranked Ladder doesn't count your game results. It's pretty sad, it's pretty infuriating, it's frustrating, because the community did everything they can to report bugs, and then the simplest bugs weren't addressed. Hopefully we get a lot of follow-up patches, because there's a lot to do, Blizzard Warcraft 3 team. With that being said, be grateful for what we have with War 3 Champions, report bugs wherever you can, and hang in there. Guess it's the best thing we can do. See you then.